skin. So you just poke the tip of your knife right up in there, and then you just run it right up that bone. And once you get it opened, just run it right up there, and then just kind of peel it back on both sides. Everybody see? And then once you've got it peeled back like that, stick your knife up behind there, and it just come right on up. And you don't have to skin the whole foot out, but you want to get up to that ankle joint right there. All right, and the same thing on the other side. Basically, you're just really lightly using your knife. You're not having to cut. Your knife sharp, and it just, like I said, a little bit of pressure on your pulling the skin out, and a little bit of pressure with your knife. If the meat starts to pull away from the bone, just back it up a little bit and get more of it. All right, once you get this side done the same way, you got this connected piece in between, and like I said, you just pull it back a little bit. You don't want to open up the gut cavity at this point. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but it just makes the whole skinning process a lot easier if you don't. And then you'll just cut back in there and move around to the back. Now you're on the other side and you can't see. But then you can just pull with your fingers, pull it away from like that, and then come right up the back, the lower back meat. And then just come right here in the tail. And the tail, you have to cut through the tail, but typically if you just kind of go slowly, then you can kind of find in between the joints.
I like cutting up a chicken.
Yeah, if you've ever cut up a chicken, and then as liquid gold comes out as you finish doing all that. Now at this point, you want to make sure it's kind of separated a little bit from the side so it doesn't tear. So once you get to this point, you got nothing blocking it down here. You just roll your hands up underneath that skin. And I always say you just take the pajamas off of it. All right, let's talk about hides for just a second. A lot of people that are into zero waste and all that stuff, they are very, well, you can't throw out the hide, you gotta tan it, you gotta use it, and it's great stuff. I don't have time for that. I mean, it goes out to the coyotes. The other problem is, if you're harvesting younger rabbits, which you typically would, 4, 5, 6 months, something like that, the hide is kind of thin. And like I said, you can, and again, once you open that up, it would be a square about that size, and then once you trim the legs off and all that. But, and I'm not saying don't do it. By all means, if you want to do it. But to me, it's not worth the effort. If I'm going to save skins to hide, save hides to skins, whatever I'm trying to say, to process for something, for another product later, then I would do it on an older rabbit, a year-old, 2-year-old, something, a mom that's not producing anymore, so we're going to process her through, because their skin is thick. All right. If anybody wants to see, touch, feel this, I'll leave it on the edge of the bucket if you can see how thin it is, if you want to check it. But again, if you are going to save them for later and do a batch of them at once.
Or if you want to take that one home, you won't dump it in the bucket.
Yeah, if you want to take it home and play with it, go by Halls and get your alum and whatever, salt and whatever you need. But if you're going to store them, turn them inside out like that, where the fur's all on the inside, and then roll it up, and you can put them in the freezer, and they'll keep for 2 years or whatever. You can come back later and process them. But I've
We've
got
had people come get hides
Yeah,
before
and tan them.